TMO Online Television wishes all our viewers and followers a peaceful festive season. We would like to remind you that our associates and affiliates may not be liable for views expressed on the show. Viewer discretion is advised.
If China believes that it can force innocent Africans to pass through the nose, then their country's influence in Africa will not last long. I cannot understand.
You sacrifice yourself.
That the 1900 agreement that was signed between Sahara Johnson and the Baganda illiterates, Baganda Luchio, has outlived decades, centuries. How could we get a raw deal in an agreement signed by lawyers, which is not in Chinese? Even if it was in Chinese, we would get experts in Chinese.
For pending a second.
Yes.
Of course.
Who signs on our behalf? Where was the parliament? Obulenzi buno mu kunoonya ssente n'obwa president bujoze eggwanga lino. Bajja kuba babuttirewa entwe ezo ze buleega butteyo omuntu omu bakuba babwasi. Kyova bajja kusasula nnyo, ajja kuwanya ebibonobono. Kuba buli omu amukaaba, buli omu amukaaba, buli omu amukaaba. Tayinza kunzita, bajja mukuba bamutte. Ekyo buli lijja okumugwa mu mutwe. Nachobe did not witness the work she did. I was told by State House that Nachobe supervised the work. The contractors are from State House engineers. Where are they when it comes to Uganda? So, how can you do good work outside? This is what I was asking. This is what I've been asking.
Mbalamusiza nnyo mwenaja musinziro kubanga mulaba TM Online Television. Nagguse dda ne muzeeyi Tamale Mirundi senior okubatuusaako ekitundu kyaffe kino ekirala ekya political dose. Bwetutyo bwe tutambula nga tumalako omwaka. Mbabuulira mwenna abalina endwadde z'amaaso temugenda nazo mu mwaka mupya, mugende mu Kisaasikula-Mbiro mu Kasaana zooni. Ye wali omusawo w'amaaso asinga obukugu ate nga jjanjaba yeeyambisa nzijanjaba eya habo. Mama Mukisa owa Mukisa Habo Clinic mu Kisaasikula-Mbiro akugambye nti obulwadde buno obukuluma nga bw'amaaso ne bw'oba wagenda mu malwaliro g'abazungu ne babujjanjaba ne bugaana ajja kusobola okubukuwonya. Buli lunaku lwakusatu Mama Mukisa anaaza ekyogo ekitebenkeza ekiwugaba emikisa ate era ekyogo ekikwambulula ebyo biba bikutawaanya naye nga Mama Mukisa taloga togendayo n'omugamba nti njagala ondogere. Mwe abayina abaana abazimba emitwe oba balwadde bw'obulwadde bwa hydrocephalus, Mama Mukisa yalina dooze eya habo ewonya obulwadde bwa hydrocephalus kasita omwana abanga tannasukka mwaka gumu. Ate mmwe bano bannyina lutwe emisango ginnemeddeko oba guli ku poliisi oba guli mu kooti, Mama Mukisa gwoba okuba akaama ajja kubanga akuyamba. Kakati mukalango kano koppako ennamba z'essimu oba genda mu Kisaasikula-Mbiro mu Kasaana zooni kuba Mama Mukisa talina branch ndala. Nkimanyi mwenna muli mu biseera bya nnaku nkulu nga mulindirira ate abamu mulina emikolo egy'enjawulo. Gwe yawasizza munno oba eyafumbiddwa munno mbasaba nti mugende ku Juba Royal Travel babateeketeekere honeymoon. Mu biseera bino Juba Royal Travel ye kampuni eri ku Park Royal Building wano mu kibuga Kampala, oba wali ng'oyambuka ku restaurant y'Abaguma oba opposite wa Toto Church oba Nesenana supermarket abamanyiwaawo mu kizimbe kya Park Royal we wali Juba Royal Travel. Bakuteekerateekera okutambula okugenda okucelebrating a honeymoon yo nga buli kimu gw'otudde waka bo ne bakuteekerateekera omuli hotel booking, omuli air ticket services, cargo handling ne oba olina by'otwala obeera sure mu mutima nti tebijja kukubulako ng'okolaganye n'aba Juba Royal Travel. Si bo bokka naye mwenna bano baŋŋenda bweru banjagala kukola, njagala work permit naddala mmwe abagala okukola e South Sudan oba ab'e South Sudan abagala okukola mu Uganda, ab'e South Sudan mugende Crown Hotel opposite reception mujja kusanga Juba Royal Travel. Baba mu Uganda mugende ku Park Royal Building wano mu kibuga bajja kuba bakolera ku work permit. Beba Juba Royal Travel services zonna bazirina omulina okuyambako mu biwandiiko byonna ebyetaagisa oba ziyite travel document assistance. Beba Juba Royal Travel mubettanire. Kangende wa muzeeyi Tamale Mirundi tutandikirewo olwaleero.
Muzeeyi mali yakubuuza ku bintu bya ekisaawe ky'entebe first.
Yes.
Olwaleero
I wrote this book long time ago.
The oil curse.
You look what is cover? Yes. I told you that oil is a curse. I told you that oil is a curse. I said, the Baganda have a saying that by the time a person struggles in life and become wealthy, all of his relatives would happily celebrate and enjoy the fruits of their kinsman's sweat are already dead. I also find this saying very true. By the time I made up my mind to visit Nsonga, the Chinese ambassador in University Commerce at Karagala village, where I was born, he was already dead. Nsonga, popularly known as China, was a very unique character, both feared and respected by residents of the village and beyond. Unlike my father, China did not participate in the Second World War. The Kabaka's chiefs did not recommend him for recruitment, claiming that he was too old to go to the front line. I do not know much. I do not know much about China's academic background, but what I cannot forget is that he admired the Chinese. Nsonga was a very unique in spite of the fact that he did not go to school. China is a character in my village. Twamuyitanga omuchina nga yesala ne yeetunga. Kakati mbagamba ti Abaganda bagamba tuwofunira ebingi nga ababo baweddewo. By the time I visited China to come and inform China, the actual China was dead. But we used to call him the China, twamuyitanga China, because of the misconceptions we had about China. China was a successful businessman, trading in cattle, and is specialized in old cows, commonly known as Kagamba. China yali musuubuzi bwante, naye nga bye buli lwagenda okugula mu katale agula nkadde, twaziyitanga kagango. Nange nagula ku nze nga ndi mwana muto. My father had several butchers in Kalisi, had a bakery, was a wealthy man. Abaana banwaniranga okuntwala ku ssomero kuba nze nagendanga n'obugati 10 nga abaana bayimirira ku luguudo bantwale ngende ku ssomero. I grew up in the wealthy village, in a rich family. That's why nagenda, because of my father's influence, nasomerako mu nursery y'abayindi. Yes. Nasomerako mu nursery y'abayindi nga tulimu abaana babiri. Owamubiru is dead. Dick Gundi
no Mirundi
because of that abayindi bwe babagoba. My father did not touch anything. Yagamba nti economy good. My first time to hear economy. Economy bagisa amini ya economy. Ekyokubiri twalina omusajja nga mukwano gwe muyindi nga bamuyita Muludini nga ine ekyuma ekaliisizo. Muludini donated a bed to my father when I chased them. But my father refused to sleep on it. He gave it to the children. It was a very big bed. Twagisulangako eno mukaaga, abaana mukaaga neno mukaaga. Ngebigere byaffe tebisobola. But Mirundi refused to sit on it. So kati nkugamba, since the cows were old and weak, China developed a technique and administering alcohol-gin wallage to cows in order to make them look stronger and be able to walk longer distances up to where they would be slaughtered. China yali musajja mugezi. China yagulanga ente enkadde. Kati enkadde ngaziwa wallage. Ente bagiwa wallage. Netambula. Oba bagirese mu katale. Naye wallage wagigwerako bagisalira. Kati China yali developing that technology way. Ngatambuze ente ngaziwadde wallage
bakuguza akatengo olaba kasa n'olowooza mu kalamu.
Yes. Kakati nkugamba, the word wallage wegini has its origin in early colonial times, and it was widely used by the Nubians during the war against colonialists in East Africa. It is because of Nsonga's cunning character that his fellow cattle traders nicknamed him Omuchina, that Omuchina could make the cow move, which they could not do. That it was a miracle. For us, by the time we grew up, the only thing that came from China, matchboxes, mobility, the Japanese made in England. The only Japanese item I could say at home. Ekigoye bakiyitanga Japan nga bakizika mu bantu. Don't let ekintu kye Muganda would chase you. Muganda would prefer made in England.
Yes.
Muganda prefers two things. Made in Germany and made in England.
Yes.
That's why when you read one of my books I tell you that Ugandans Baganda admire Germany. And they don't know the difference between Germany and the Netherlands. Baliba Dutch. Kalifuka mu Dutch.
Chuma cha mu Dutch.
Chuma cha mu Dutch means what?
Chigumu.
Chigumu.
Kitufu.
Chuma cha mu Dutch. Kalifuka mu Dutch. In Dutch, trenches.
Yes.
Military trenches are called in Dutch. I think they were used by Germans during the Second World War. Muganda, a rich Muganda must have a Benz. Haven't you seen mine?
Of course, I have seen it every time.
Yeah, you have two. Benz, Mercedes Benz. Why? Even the taxi drivers, taxi drivers fear Benz.
I see.
A Mercedes Benz, they fear it. But you turn your mother-in-law.
I see.
You don't touch on it.
I see.
A Mercedes Benz cannot be easily knocked by a reckless driver.
I see.
Because of the expensiveness and
it's the respect.
The respect it enjoys in the society.
I see.
Yes. So, nkugamba nti abachina nkugamba to me this is not strange. As a young man, I had heard amazing stories attributed to the Chinese. For example, the villagers used to be cautious before buying Chinese products, which were mainly matchboxes smuggled into Uganda from Rwanda. There was a common myth among the rural folk that if you buy Chinese products, you risk not using them because they would later disappear. Obana mu mwakiwulyako. Nga Abaganda tebakula bintu by'Abachina bibula. That's why Baganda avoided buying China. Maybe.
But who brought that myth?
I think the myth was brought by Indian traders. This kakuku between China and India. I think it has to do with this thing.
I see.
Yes.
Maybe now we suspect.
Kakati. The locals wrongly believed that the Chinese are miracle workers and masters of witchcraft.
Bafusa.
Another common story that made rounds in the village at that time was that because of their mastery in witchcraft, the Chinese had been banned from the World Cup tournament.
Yes, I heard that.
Bwaba China bagenda mu World Cup bakola emipiira ne goal nnya for goal posts. I don't know whether the Chinese embassy I don't know whether the Chinese ambassador knows this story.
We had a story that about when they went to World Cup, by the time they kicked the ball to the goalkeeper, instead of the
even the Americans, the Americans suffered the same. America donated 300 scholarships annually to Chiwanuka, Ben Chiwanuka, when he visited Kennedy. But even when Obote visited Kennedy, he rejected the 300 scholarships. Why? Ugandans were made to believe that the American education was low compared to Britain.
I see. That
Indian education was low. Yes, but the real issue was that Ugandans feared India. Why? Over there, anti-colonial aspects, the passive resistance.
Of course.
Mutesa wanted to go to train in India. The British, these people don't know history. Kakati nkugamba nti as younger kids, we were amazed to know how the Chinese national team would miraculously create the regional goal posts and a magical soccer ball covered with the thorns to trick and cheat their opponents in the football matches. It was said that their opponents in the World Cup match feared kicking the thorny ball, giving the Chinese a landslide victory with many goals. This, according to the story, was the last time China was allowed to participate in World Cup because the football governing body could not tolerate this witchcraft by the Chinese. I think many of you might have heard about such a story.
Yes, of course.
I was informed. My father, kale tata wange namulyanga agayimba. Yimwa babiri jimuli bona bona. Olw'okuba lumumba gwe mwattira obusa muzimu gwa lubumba guli luluma. How could my father know but he was informed. My father had participated in the Second World War.
I see.
He was not chosen by the Buganda training recruitment team because he was an orphan. An orphan could not go to the Second World War. My father rode a bicycle to Tororo and he was recruited as a Tororo man.
I see.
Yes. According to Second World War records, Mirundi is from Tororo.
Yes. As an orphan, he would not be recruited.
No, but he was itching.
Uganda.
He was itching to hand a gun.
I see.
Another misconception about China was that all Chinese resemble each other. This was supported by another myth in the rural folk, which claimed that whenever a baby is born in China, it is taken from their parents by the state, never to be seen again, which resulted in two people marrying their relatives, hence the resemblance. Omanyiti abantu balowooza nti abachina bonna bafaanagana.
Kituufu.
Omukazi bw'azaala omwana bamumuggyako ne mutereka kakati ne beesanga nga tebeemanyi ne beewasa ne bafaanagana. These were negative story about the Chinese and I don't think that they have done much and they are making themselves enemies of Africans. In spite of, in Africa we have incest where close relatives get married to each other. The tradition is further bolstered by religion and customs in Africa. Actually, in Africa, even those that call themselves atheists have a tradition which they believe in, like me. As we are growing up, we are told that the Chinese are non-believers and therefore do not respect and observe the 10 Commandments as written in the Bible. That they are saying Africa would be short-lived. Yes. Because they have come to Africa when Africans have misconceptions about the Chinese, which they would move if they knew, if the Chinese embassy knew. They would first strategize on how to, on how to make themselves different. I say, my village mate in Sobuga, whose nickname was Omuchina, used to do things that left the villagers shocked and in a awe. For example, he used sharpened knives to cut his body and then stitch the wounds using a needle and a thread. Without China yesalanga ne yetunga. Alita akasuni yetunga. To prove that he was a real Chinese. I see. I think this was the first black Chinese in Africa. China had fearsome dogs at home, which could give orders to attack or not. Had mango trees, usually full of ripe fruits, which we could not dare pick, fearing his wrath. More so, China was a non-believer. He used to sweep naked both his mother and his wife on Sunday mornings and tie them beside the village path to demonstrate to everybody that to passerby how he lost the religion. Yes. Kakati oyo ye Muchina. Kakati nkugamba naamini naye yayongera okukyayisa Abachina. Interestingly, my childhood perception towards the Chinese is shared by other people. This is when a Chinese road constructor company, Kkwo, was constructed to build a road. Again. Interestingly, my childhood perception towards China is shared by other people. This is why, when a Chinese road construction company was constructed to build a road in Karamoja sub-region, a Chinese engineer was shot dead by a Karamojong warrior who wanted to prove whether the Chinese also die. The Karamojong warrior had conceived a falsehood from his friend that the Chinese do not die. Yes. Company y'Abachina gye bayita Siyetiko yagenda Karamoja okukolayo oluguudo. Warrior n'akuba Omuchina essasi alaba bano Omuchina akola ki? Afa. Ate bwe bajja wano ne balya emisota ne balya embwa. Increasing the people's misconception about China. I see. Nakugamba, another related incident happened when the Ugandan army invaded Tanzania in 1971. Idi Amin bragged that during the raid, the Ugandan army allegedly killed the Chinese colonel. The body of Hanis Pope, Tanzania's senior police officer, was brought to Kampala and put on display for 3 days at a colonial airstrip for public viewing. It turned out to be a political publicity stunt for Amin to claim that Tanzania had acquired Chinese mercenaries to invade Uganda.
I see.
Hey, omusajja ali mu Zanzibar nga musajja mu Tanzania mu police ne bamutta ku border ya Uganda. Amin yaleeta omulambo gwa Kanu mu China n'aguteeka na Kivubo oba Kololo. So Ugandan is wronged that place to say how a Chinese Kanu could die.
I see.
I don't know whether the Chinese embassy is aware of this. When they invite people to share, to corrupt them, they don't involve me.
Of course.
I've never stepped at the Chinese embassy. Later, after Amin's government was toppled in 1979, it was also confirmed that the man was a senior policeman from Zanzibar, who had been deployed at Mutukula border between Uganda and Tanzania. Amin intended to use the Chinese Kanu slogan to back his allegation that there were Chinese in the Tanzanian army. He also wanted to demonstrate that his army had capacity to defeat even the Chinese who were revered for their magic and witchcraft. Era Amin yagamba nti Nyerere yalese abacuba nga balina ebirevu nti abakazi b'Erakai bakutte ensolo byo zaabwe ne bafumita abacuba. So Amin used the Chinese. That's why when you see a man, a person who works on who does mercenary work, is a Cuban.
Yes. Era kyafukanga kya Luganda. It almost
one time the Cuban ambassador to Uganda called a press conference and said, I hear you people saying that you have Cubans in the taxi park. There are no Cubans here. No. Cuba means a person who is hired money to do a job,
to do something.
Mercenaries.
Yes.
This is how Ugandans perceive Cubans as mercenaries.
As mercenaries.
This is why I think the people did not appreciate Museveni's decision to bring Cuban doctors to our hospitals. But the Cubans who work in Africa are trained differently.
Yes.
The Cubans who are going to come here speak Uganda and Kiswahili. And
the mood in which the president said that was to demean the local doctors after
the local doctors were involved in killing Ugandans and extracting their organs. This is why I pitied this Dr. Byaruhanga, a police pathologist. He went on KFM. Abantu ke batawulira. We have been carrying out research. Those people we investigated. There's no killing of people. It was a research project. I have received details on how a research of that nature can be made.
Yes.
Kakati Byaruhanga should be indicted. Like Bariumus wanted to bring a bill in the government. We are talking about killing Ugandans. 4,000 Ugandan girls were killed in India alone, and their organs extracted.
I see.
This battle with these killers has made me survive poison 5 times.
So what is this police pathologist saying?
The case is commencing tomorrow on Monday at Hague. 8 doctors have been, that they are building a story that this was a research done. How would you involve this man who was arrested in Karachi? They don't know. But because they don't want to talk to me, I told them, you caused me trouble, you sacked me because you influenced. For 8 years, my family has suffered, targeted my wife, poisoned me 5 times, hired the thugs to kill me. I cannot work out here again, but you must pay.
I see.
Because I retired when I was young, 8 years ago. I've never talked to Wabogo in my life.
So he's trying to create an explanation that will exonerate the other.
How, when did we know? Are you the usual spokesperson of the police?
I see.
Chicho yako hakuna akili Dr. Byaruhanga. Hakuna kitu.
I see.
Kagani nkugamba nawandika kwa China bana. Today many African leaders are running to China for financial support and loans in the pursuit of development in their respective countries. In the recent past, the Chinese economy has leapfrogged that of Japan, Singapore, and India. In fact, I always say that the population of India has majority educated people compared to that of China. But the economy of India has not grown as fast as that of China. This trend is attributed to China's non-democratic system, while India is the largest democratic country in the whole world.
I see.
When you look at the two countries, India, because of historical links with Britain, it has the majority of educated people. China does not have educated people until recently. They now have the largest thinkers. They are paid to think. But the difference is democracy.
I see.
You can do many things. Genda wambe nyanja, wambe nyama, wambe amata, mubebuli wa mugoba abantu, but you have democracy. Mumuloza nti mujja kugula bakule. Nga mubagula chi? People are yawning to itching to grow, you like grasshoppers.
I see.
You are protected by government. Get a new regime. Ojakulavanga, kaduka n'entwe yako bajaka baba kasirona. Kano kali duke ka mwenge ni kaduka kali yingira Kongo.
Mpulira.
Ujozinga nasabe wafo okubalabako. Ndirabako omulenzo yanjoze emyaka 8 nga kanga bade kabanga lingembuze ennume.
Mpulira.
Aliko nga bala kabangali. Anjoze nye kiyitiridde. Ne buli kasente kankonna nakatwala nzite bamutte. Bali mu bane bamuwaso omutwe sijja kwogera naye. I never talk to these boys. Abakazi bajja kuno bagenda abaana ne siyogera n'omulenzo oyo bukyajoga yajoga mu atajogeka. Kuluno bukyajoga yajoga atajogeka. Sijja kwogera naye. Never reconcile with these people. Anzita alabe ne bamubeba muwaso omutwe. I tell you, this means that for anyone to start a business or political decision in New Delhi, India, or any other city in India, he or she must consider the country's election calendar. Prospective businessmen in China do not have to worry about such issues. They do whatever they wish. The Communist Party in China enjoys a monopoly in the politics of the country, and members are obligated to apply in order to become a member. It's only the Chinese party where you apply to become a member.
Serious?
Yes. To be a member of the Chinese party, you have to apply because they don't need the members. Yes, it is a privilege. It is a privilege. Navano chibalowozo. Nti okubera member w'NRM is a privilege. Kujja okutola kachiko kabwe is a privilege. Nabo bebalowoza. The Chinese mentality. This is a democratic country. Mugula abantu sente muzijewo. Nabo baba banje. Bamugula kati bakusasira babogera bulungi bano bagundi bafulufiga bani okubera ambition ne mubeyambisa ne mudduka you are giving them a panado
mpulira
tino diro omuntu n'omala mujoga ate n'omulimu izi bali bulungi
mpulira
ejogo eri mubajoze nojoga omwana wa munono
ekintu ekyani yakireta okozesa omuntu n'omujoga.
The politics of the country. China has a parliament of 4,000 MPs, which sits once or twice a year. Recently, China declared their current president being a president for life, and therefore, he is not worried about losing elections as it is in the case with the Prime Minister of India. More so, the Chinese have a high level of discipline. They have a strong policy against corruption and the handling of public resources. They have a death penalty and the public executions are common for corrupt people. This is what African leaders overlook when they run to China seeking for loans. But the Chinese, that's why the Chinese, when they lend you money, you have to pass through the nose.
I see.
This is not a former colonizer that cheated everybody.
Of course.
They have developed, they have
worked hard for their money.
Mucha kuzisasula. Bwogende China omanya nti baliika. Ojja kusasula sente zaabwe kuba ogende China omala kuwonoona bibyo.
Kituufu.
Yes.
Okwewola eyo zimala kulemawo. Ezo mumala kusiba.
Waliwo China ng'ensonyi y'amabanja. These Europeans can forgive. They have. Once you use the gundi, when
you follow democratic governance,
yes, but the Chinese don't. They are money lenders. They are not banks. Another important fact to note is that China also knows that African leaders like overstaying in power, and therefore Unlike the American and European counterparts who want to question human and democratic credentials of African governments, these are not part of China's policy in Africa. The question is, what is their recovery policy on loans that are being extended to African countries in case the recipient countries default? Abachina bagezi bwe bakukozesa endagaano tebakola naawe bakola nansi. Yes, they can occupy your country.
I see.
Kubanga gwe mu kifo ky'ogenda mu America gye basaba democracy olazeewa
ewaabwe
bate bajja kusaba democracy but you pay. So if you want to overstay the power genda China. But the Chinese also nabo baagala ki kyembagamba nti after losing money to your gold, your saving lawyers, you come to me to help you. Mwana wange esente bali jangu nkukube gwagamba receipt y'omudwali lya government oba a hospital ekola musabo. Can you tell a witch doctor that you see by the time I have come here I have spent all of the money to these medical doctors? I need the money. I also need the money. I cannot help you. The doctor, the lawyers cheat you, then you come to me. Come. I don't want a executive wound. Position is.
I see.
No, you cannot come and waste my time. In this case, therefore, if China believes that it can force innocent Africans to pass through the nose, then their country's influence in Africa will not last long. 15 years ago.
I see.
15 years ago, I wrote about the future of China.
And then Africa. You say their stay will be short-lived.
Yes. I said the Chinese stay in Africa. In this case, therefore, if China believes that it can force innocent Africans to pass through the nose, then their country's influence in Africa will not last long. In fact, China's failure to demand for democratic credentials of African countries seeking for loans undermines the future in Africa. Yes. Ndiyo yategeera the Baganda have a saying, waze kulya na kubala baana. Where do you count my children? Kubanga Muganda, when Muganda slaughters a goat for you, enyama yonna bagikuwa oba oli muko kulusaniya. Kati God deserve ki?
Abaana.
Kakati this man calculates ku table abaana bali bameka. Bwe mbaddiza ebifi bibiri nsigazaawo. Kuba enyama yonna bagikwata bikuteera ku ki? Kakati the Chinese don't mind about your democratic credentials. The Europeans, their tradition will not change to accommodate because China. No, they know. The Europeans knew that China's influence in Africa would be short-lived. Why? The peasants will realize that the Chinese loans, because they had enjoyed a good relationship with the West.
Yes.
Nenkugamba. The Catholic Church faced the same problem in Latin America. The old and the conservative clergy wanted to encourage the ruling dictators, fearing that their exit will usher in the revival of churches. This is resulted in interest split in the church. The younger revolutionary priests decided to fight the dictators and replace them with reformist and democratic governments. This is what has so far maintained the Catholic Church in Latin America, where the reigning pope originates. Katibo mu Latin America basanga ekizibu kyekimu nga Catholic Church ewagira ba dictators kati aba opposition ne bakwata abalokole kakati bagenda okutegeera n'aba communist kati bagenda okutegeera ne babeera Catholic Church netuula ne beera split into two. If we allow the dictators to be overthrown by the communists and the barokole, we are losing. Let us fight the dictators who have caused untold suffering on the population of Latin America to retain the Catholic Church. Kakati ne bavaamu the just politics Papa Muava. The Pope originates from this just priests who decided to take on the dictators in Africa to save the Catholic Church.
I see.
Yes.
In Latin America.
In Latin America. Ono Papa Jaffa. Nakugamba. Sadly, China conducts itself in a way more like a father who tells his in-law that he can treat her daughter the way he likes. It would sound like a melody in the ears of a foolish in-law, forgetting that his wife is a property of the state.
Yes.
And once she is mistreated, she can appeal to the state organs. Therefore, China must change their strategy in Africa. Only democratic countries that have checks and balances can properly utilize the borrowed money and be able to pay back.
I see.
15 years ago.
You're writing about China. And what
if Ugandans are incited like these people are doing, because government's failure is to explain what who negotiated. Is it true by the way?
Yes, is it true?
Is it true?
But Mzee, by the
what
fact
went
that,
wrong?
By the fact
where
that,
do you find an agreement that does not have a review? Let me tell you. One of my sons is Rebengula. Is Mirundi Rebengula. Why did I like Rebengula? Rebengula was a king of the Batebere in Zimbabwe. The missionaries duped, corrupted one of his aides who knew English. And he ended up surrendering his kingdom to the foreigners. The missionaries, he had a friend, a missionary friend, went to him and read the agreement. And he told the Rebengula, do you know Rebengula? The agreement, in the agreement, you have surrendered your kingdom to Queen Victoria. What did Rebengula do? Rebengula called a man who is comparable to Matia Kasaija, to his palace, and told him, what agreement did you sign with the British, with these Bazungu? The man started murmuring, stammering, ate. Rebengula grabbed his neck, slaughtered it, cut off his neck. And Rebengula got a missionary and wrote a letter to Queen Victoria. I think it was a Frenchman who was not interested in Britain taking over the kingdom. Queen Victoria saw to that Rebengula was a small chief. Kumbe Rebengula was an arrogant man like him, who could not allow British influence either through the door or through the window or through the ventilation system. What did Rebengula do? He wrote a letter to Queen Victoria. I was duped by one of my aides who knew English, and I signed an agreement unknowingly that I had surrendered my kingdom to you, Queen Victoria. I think now you have known that I didn't. The agreement is null and void. Do you know what the arrogant queen said? The arrogant Queen Victoria sent a letter to Rebengula. My friend Rebengula is too bad because I cannot confirm that those Europeans you are talking about were actually British. They are Italians in Africa, they are Germans in Africa, they are from different nations. The only thing you say is being white. What did Rebengula say after reading the letter, after interpreting? He grabbed the missionaries in his kingdom and slaughtered them.
I see.
Your king has denied that you are not the one.
Yes.
What should we do in modern Uganda if we see that the people are arguing? Because I always live myself.
Yes.
I know these people have a lot of. I cannot understand.
You sacrifice yourself.
That the 1900 agreement that was signed between Sahara Johnson and the Baganda illiterates, Baganda Luchio, has outlived decades, centuries. How could we get a raw deal in an agreement signed by lawyers, which is not in Chinese? Even if it was in Chinese, we would get experts in Chinese.
Before pending a second.
Yes.
Of course.
Who signs on our behalf? Where was the parliament? I'm hearing.
That's what we are questioning.
I'm hearing.
Why does parliament come always to give us bad news?
At that time, yes, because once a girl follows pregnant, you cannot stop her from mixing with the bad boys.
Yes.
Nsereko is a lawyer. What do we move now from here? n'abaana bammwe n'abazzukulu bammwe nabaki. I agree with his concerns, he's young. But what can we do to revisit this agreement if it was actually there?
Yes.
And is it the only agreement
that so far
that was written by the Chinese?
That is the one so far we have seen.
Yes. And what
probably others are.
And what's the future?
Up.
What's the future of these Chinese in Uganda?
They will grab all.
So I said, instead of dishing out to billions, I wanted the Chinese. This book, I wanted the Chinese.
The
15 years ago. 15 years ago, I wanted the Chinese. I wanted the Chinese in Africa.
Probably they do not read it.
At that time, who would think that I have sense? They were calling me madman. Until this Pakistani man told them, the man is hyper intelligent.
I see.
Anybody who calls this man a madman is making a very big mistake. I'm not a madman. I'm highly intelligent.
I see.
And in the politics, you must know yourself. I know myself that I'm highly intelligent.
Of course.
Calling me a drunkard does not make any sense. In fact, I drink more. Yes.
Because if you are intelligent.
Yes, during my birthday, the first birthday, the group, the Chengera group, organized for me. Naire Breweries donated the crate of beer. Even the cake had been made in the form of a Naire special.
I saw a bottle. One of your daughters sent me a picture. Then I said, is this bottle just fixed or it is a cake?
No.
Are you serious?
Yes. If I'm drinking a Naire special.
It wasn't a bottle, it was, it was a cake.
To drink? If I'm a drunkard who can make it, you panic, who can predict things, then you better drink the brand I drink.
Exactly.
When these people, the Chengera group organized that birthday, yesterday, last night, the Zana group also organized theirs. They organized theirs. And this is the chair they have donated it to me. That because I'm an old man now over 60, I needed this type of chair. This is from the Zana group.
Mukuru akoi.
Katinsigazayo group.
Probably even the fans will organize something for you.
Group. The Abigail group. Abigail.
Yeah.
Abigail is my youngest daughter. In a group
probably osigazayo bili
oyajja kuntwala ku dinner
never funny bajja kunkolera
even the fans can make one for me, but ensure that there is a crate of beer. Even the cake must be made in the form of a Naire beer.
But that one I fear, because the mafias might organize it in the image of being your fans.
Yes.
Somewhere.
So I said, instead of dishing out billions to African governments, which will cause anti-Chinese sentiments in the near future, the Chinese government should share its experience with African countries. China should inform African leaders that financial prudence is crucial in Western generation, accumulation and protection. Why is it that the Chinese philosophy of give a man a hook instead of giving him a fish, not being applied in all of the mega projects that China is implementing in Africa? China.
It is instead giving a fish now.
It's a Chinese.
Not a hook.
Give a hook instead of a fish. Is it reflected in the Chinese projects?
They are giving us fish.
They're giving us fish and the rotten fish.
Of course.
They're grabbing everything in the swamps.
But Muzei, we should look at where are the member of parliament every time they are doing this.
Where I can exaggerate the Chinese, I tell you, the Chinese have had a long relationship with the Tanzania. Why are they not destroying and exploiting Tanzania? Because of the type of people you have in Tanzania. They like their country. They love their country.
I see.
Look what another example. When these people talk about a school Museveni constructed in Tanzania, which I don't have any problem, because Tanzania helped us to kick out Nyerere. Museveni, when Museveni fled, where did he go? He was almost killed in Kenya. He writes this in his book. So he was moving into Tanzania. How can Museveni pay for Tanzania? Museveni looks after Nyerere's family. Nyerere left a will which does not allow the Tanzanian government to look after his family. Two, Museveni, who is not a Catholic, has championed Nyerere's being a saint. You see Nyerere's wife here. Nyerere is going to be a saint.
Of course.
Nyerere allocated big chunks of land to schools and churches, which has not been sold by the Tanzanians, the Catholic Church. Nakalema recently came up and said, churches are selling land. Yes, they sold even the Endeavour Church because they have a Uganda land sort of company that is selling land, and we shall arrest them. Because of Uganda, this land they are selling in Uganda had a clawback.
I see.
You sell it to develop Uganda.
I see.
Tujja kuba yole nakasirawo bajja kuba Anglican Church bali jifuma. Mbabuliza. When the Baganda wake up and realize, and you get many lawyers, the Anglican clerics will go to spend a lot of money in the court. Kakati nkugamba. When you look at the school itself, I was informed. I had earlier thought that the school had been constructed by a Tanzanian company. No. State House engineers under the supervision of Nachobe.
I see.
The school was done by State House engineers. Where are they? Why don't we see this expertise that they have demonstrated in Tanzania? Not here.
Here we are seeing it.
And you see, Asante Yapunda ni Mateki. Nachobe would have been
elevated to a greater position.
Nachobe nekadaga bebampa sei. Abo bonna baana baabwe bakaaba. Kyovala bajja kusasula nnyo, ajja kuwa nnyo ebibonobono. Kuba buli omu amukaaba, buli omu amukaaba, buli omu amukaaba. Tayinza kunzita bajja mukuba bamutte. Ekyo buli lijja okumuggwa mu mutwe. Nachobe did not witness the work she did. I was told by State House that Nachobe supervised the work. The contractors are from State House engineers. Where are they when it comes to Uganda? So, wali wana ababbi bali wano, abasoma bali wano. How can you do good work outside? This is what I was asking. This is what I've been asking. Why should we help the Somalis to get peace when the extreme soldiers cannot be used here to have peace?
Yes.
This is why I support UPDF in Congo. Yes, if we can help the Somalis to get out, to get rid of these fundamentalists. Yes. Why don't we clear that area and occupy it until there is a strong government in Congo?
I see.
At one time, Israel had 80 square miles inside Lebanon because the Hezbollahs were sneaking into it, using because of the weakness of the UN force. At one time, there was a Ghanaian battalion, but these people knew that this was the UN forces could not fire a bullet. They would even come in when attacked. So, until the UN changed this practice, UN forces can fight because the argument was a person dies for his own country. Can you die as a mercenary for an institution called UN? But UN to be seen inside an ordinary person's house. That's why they put up the International Criminal Court, where for the first time in Africa we have made a record. It is only under our government, even did not kill people for export. Obukulembeze buno okunonyereza n'obwa president bujoze eggwanga lino. Bajja kuba buttire wano entwe ezo ze bulega butteyo omuntu omba bakubeba bwasi. Kakati nkugamba nti Abachina bano nababuulira ne mbagamba nti implement in Africa. A good bar or hotel managers concern should not only be the well-being of a couple staying at the hotel, but if they would come again in the future, in this case, the guests should be given free condoms in order to remain healthy. Finally, China should understand that the projects being implemented in Africa are permanent monuments that form the basis from which its reputation can be appreciated or discredited. This state of affairs happens when the citizens perceive that foreigners have taken over what the local people can do. This phenomenon does not apply to the Chinese alone, but to Ugandans too. When South Sudanese perceived that Ugandans were engaged in businesses which their people could do, it resulted into killings of Ugandans, which is continuing up to today, who once accommodated Southern Sudanese as refugees. Once foreigners do what an ordinary citizen can do, the relationship cannot last. Tanzanians came here and kicked it out to Idi Amin. I would have suggested, if I had the powers and the influence, the 25th of January, which coincides with the day when the NRA toppled the Obote, would be Nyerere Day. But it is Museveni who is campaigning for Nyerere. Why? Uganda needs, because of what went through after Idi Amin. Uganda is even admire Idi Amin. Many people are suffering from nostalgia that the situation was far better during Idi Amin.
It is said that Ugandans don't like Nyerere,
and the monuments of Idi Amin.
Nyerere did not like Uganda.
The monuments of Idi Amin.
He hated the kingdomship.
Yeah, the monuments of Idi Amin. Uganda Airlines was started by Idi Amin. Expansion of Entebbe International Airport by Idi Amin. This Uganda House was completed by Idi Amin. So, the International University in Mbale, which they are fighting over. In fact, I'm suggesting that Katerega, this Professor Katerega, instead of fighting over the Islamic University in Mbale, which can be relocated, because it is the Islamic University in Mbale, it must be operate under an embassy. If the Ugandan government feels that it is planting terrorism in Uganda, it will relocate it. My suggestion is that a person like Katerega, who is a professor in Islam, a moderate Muslim, should get money from government, start an institution. Abaana nga bano bemulaba abakirevu bebasse abaana abo bwemutabayambe kubalabirira gavumenti netabalabirira abaana baabano abatujju bebatta bagenda kubabba wano babatwale mu mawanga ga buwalabu ate abazzukulu baffe bajja kubonaabona nnyo nabo. Omwana yalaba taata w'ekirevu nga bamukuba amasasi bajja kumubba wano kati ayina kozi talina kitaawe baliko bamupulantingemu Islamic fundamentalism. In fact, before opportunistic groups eziga nti zirabirira abaana could come in and snatch these children, the government should use the good services of Katerega, who is an Islamic scholar, instead of fighting over Mbale Islamic, which will be relocated from Uganda and be taken somewhere else. It came here because we are members of the Islamic conference. Yes, it can be relocated. It's like an embassy. Islamic University in Mbale. Oba ogenzeyo ng'oli musiraamu olina okwebikkirira. Ate okwebikkirira kintu kya buwalabu. N'abakazi abagenda okulaba papa bagenda beebikkiridde. They were told when we went to visit the Vatican, it was only the first lady who obliged. Bano bonna bagenda tebeebikkiridde. You cannot, a woman cannot go to the Pope without covering her head.
I see.
Baagaana n'abo abakatoliki boolaba. Tebakikolako. No. They were told they refused. And nobody knelt before the Pope. African women was he seeing a delegation of Africans for the first time?
No.
Teri mukazi n'omu yafukamira. This is why I attracted the Pope's attention. I was donning a rosary.
I see.
And he had to send his aid to collect me back to talk to me and pray for me.
I see.
So, kakati ekintu kyaba China kino nakyogerako nembagamba nti China should share, should learn. Otherwise, Chinese presence in Africa, not only in Uganda, will be short-lived. In Zanzibar, in Zambia, they are hated. They are taking over everything. If this starts in Uganda, and I told you that the Chinese operate differently, they hide their numbers. We might be having 2 million Chinese in Uganda.
Already.
Why do I say so? In Angola, there are 5 million Chinese in Angola. In Zambia, when they calculated, they found that there were about 3 million Chinese. But they hide themselves. When they come to do jobs, they are cheaper, yes, because they use prisoners. 2, we had not seen a Chinese prostitute. In fact, many Ugandans want to test the Chinese women. One time, there is a person who brought the Chinese in her saloon. But the Ugandans wanted to test the Chinese. Are they real women? How were they created? What happened? Because you see, the Americans created the prostitution in Thailand. Thailand. When they were going to Vietnam, they would stay for a week in Thailand, enjoy the Thailandese women. This is why at times it's called the Thailand, not Thailand. The country is Thailand. But when the Americans were going to Vietnam and coming back, they used to take their soldiers there to enjoy. This happened to the Japanese. The Japanese had to get women, not Korean women. They would take them in tents as sex slaves. And when they come back after work, they would enjoy themselves on the Korean women. So this is why in Asia, in fact in Singapore prostitution is legal. Once you see a woman moving with a small umbrella, when I see Bobby Wine carrying using an umbrella as a symbol, in Singapore, an umbrella is a symbol of prostitution.
I see.
When you say woman carrying an umbrella or a man, then it means he's a prostitute. I think he has not visited Singapore.
Probably was not properly advised.
He wouldn't have chosen. Even the first person to use an umbrella in Uganda was M.i.S.O. It also flopped. M.i.S.O was saying he wanted umbrella politics. It flopped.
I wanted you to discuss this thing of Uganda invading Congo or invading or going there.
I said
under Muhoozi as the commander.
I said this is not the commander of land forces. Who is the commander of land forces?
It is him.
Yes.
Muhoozi Kainerugaba.
Yes. Why did you bring Muhoozi in the army? Yes, he's the commander of land forces.
Of course, he's a soldier in that capacity.
Yes.
So he should command.
You would say, why have picked Muhoozi from the Air Force to command the operation? But you can see the conflict of interest. Monitor does not highlight Muhoozi at all.
They highlight
Monitor, no, red paper applies because
and we saw him
do you know that Monitor does not highlight this war? He said, as I pointed out, their headline yesterday was not over the war, was over the panic. Because it is a hired newspaper. If I had a copy, I would ban it. That of it. People are warming up to wait January when the economy is open. Then it comes and what's what they had. What this Monitor you far. The real Monitor is dead. Monitor you appear. This is a corpus.
Independent newspaper.
It is a corpus. The current Monitor is a corpus. This is a corpus that needs to be buried. The current newspaper, Monitor newspaper. If they don't change the editor, it will die. It will die a natural death and it will never be revived. Because it is being used. I think when they got problems, somebody bought shares in that newspaper.
And
it's a corpus.
He's using them.
Monitor is a rotten corpus that needs just some short time to bury it.
Now, Mzee.
So for me, I support UPDF. One, we have known that the Congolese government is not able to ensure security in that area. What if a hostile neighbor occupies that Chifurukwa and it comes near us?
Yes.
So we have all the justification, even if we don't use the bomb blasts, because bomb blasts cannot be solved by invading. What if these people choose, like when the Sudanese government allowed us to go into Sudan, Iron Fist, then the rebels shifted to areas like Keteso. And Ugandans started asking, that's why the president created Arrow Boys and Amuka Boys, because these people can come, or they can go deeper into Congo. Are you going to follow them? I hear they have marijuana gardens. They were almost declaring that area their own country. And this could be the reason why we have problems with Mumbere. Because the problem is with Mumbere is like the tax government, the way it's doing the cards. The cards are 10 million people who have no country. These Bakonzo, about 10 million people, but they have no country. This is why this name is called what? Kira, what something, that they want to create a state there. I think this is why the Congolese government is coming to cooperate with the Ugandan government, because it would be reluctant given the other experience fighting in Kisangani, the burden we have, the dirty burden we have when they solo timber and with their women. But I think the Congolese government and the international community have found out that somebody wants to create, to carve that party, either legal or not, to be independent from the Congo, the Democratic
Republic of
Congo. And it wouldn't be in our interest for a stateless or a non-international recognized state to have a stronghold in those areas near us.
To share a border with us.
Yes, if we can go to fight these people in Somalia who are far away. This is what the Uganda say, that Okabira Mubikiri. When you hear this announcement, you start shedding tears. What about the person who has died on your lap? Your own person.
Yes.
So if we can go to Somalia to sort out these terrorists, why should we allow somebody to build up a state, a country that is not governed by any state rules near our border?
It seems, Mzee,
even at individual level. Let us look at individual level. If you know that your neighbor is harboring thieves, what do?
Of course,
you said you just create a perimeter wall. What if they jump over it?
Of course, you solve the issue of the neighbors.
Yes.
Before it comes to you.
Yes. Yes.
So now, Mzee, it seems there is a hostile country creating that.
Auntie, if there is a hostile country, what we do? Let us prepare for an occupation, a long stay in those areas until the government in Kinshasa can solve their problems and establish a strong army. At one time, you people, you forget very quickly. Don't you remember that at one time it was suggested that we should get a UN representative in the north of Uganda? And Museveni refused. He knew the implications. What they were saying, that we should declare northern Uganda under UN. Under Red Cross.
I see.
Museveni said, I will not accept a UN representative in northern Uganda. He accepted a UN observer. This man, Chisano. Chisano was a UN, because a UN representative, many people are excited, but you didn't know. A UN observer means that the government of Uganda had lost control over northern Uganda.
I see.
Museveni knew it. What a UN observer and a UN representative. So, likewise, if Congo, a state must be able to control its territory.
Of course.
Once a state fails to control its territory, then it means it has ceased to be a state. If the Congolese government has accepted that it cannot monitor, it cannot protect those areas, they have created a Chifurukwa. A Chifurukwa is a house where there are snakes, there are robbers, there are people use it to rape women, they can even murder from those places. What do you do if you find a Chifurukwa?
Of course, you demolish the Chifurukwa.
The Congolese government, with this agreement, they have considered that they cannot manage this state.
But Mzee, at what cost are we maintaining this war?
With this democratic journey, if for instance they continue, Shikedi goes, another one goes, Kenya has solved many problems. Why? It's a democratic country. Democratic countries solve institutions, solve problems. Once you fail to solve a problem in 10 years, you go. And another one comes.
Yes.
Yes.
Mzee, I'm questioning the cost at which we are maintaining.
No, security has no cost. I have soldiers, I have policemen. All of my houses are guarded. You think government gives me allowances?
No.
I maintain those people.
Of course.
What will I get if
you are killed?
If I'm killed and people donate the money for my funeral.
Condolence.
So security is paramount. You cannot just talk. Because for you, when you talk about security, I laugh at many of these MPs when they talk about security. Security means that you will buy weapons on a daily basis. They develop new weapons. What if a donor gives the ADF modern weapons and they pull down our planes? What will you do? You will buy better planes?
I see.
You will train your people. You will do. So security is like eating. To survive a country, a state and organization is like a living thing. It adapts, it adapts, it absorbs, adapts, and it releases. It's like we falling sick. We cannot appeal to God that no, God, don't bring challenging diseases. Who knew that the people would do these women who paint their lips to attract men? Is it now possible with these masks?
No.
No.
They can't.
Yes. Who
paint
knew?
them.
In fact, when I look at international conferences, I look at everybody, I look at functions, everybody is masking himself and herself. I say, who knew? If it was started as a fashion, many people dismiss it as being mad.
And they say that that's not good fashion.
Kakati ate, what if we develop, if we get a disease that goes through the buttocks, how are we going to stick in the buttocks? the designers will design. We cannot say that.
We can't mask up the
yes, they will find ways.
Yes.
Security. Once you are a country, we did not choose our neighbors. Tanzania is peaceful, Kenya is peaceful, we have to do with the Southern Sudan and Congo until these countries also reach our level. You don't know. President Moi remarked at one time, if I knew where they could buy peace, I would buy one for Uganda. At that time, Ugandans were in exile in Kenya. Moi donated 10 bags of sugar to our to Ugandans at the border. Fought and some dead, found themselves dead. When you saw somebody coming with a sack of omo, a packet of omo, milk, which whatever kumataga Kenya, gaberanga mu bikubu ebyakiraga ebyakyenvu, amataga Kenya akatafa. They had established a town, a full town at Kisumu to serve Uganda. Because our economy had collapsed. But we have recovered. What we are going through, these are labor pains. And this society is being born. And for us in the political science, we know. If a system overstays in power, it serves what we call political inertia. This is why you see locally the revival churches. The traditional churches have reached a level of not being able to reform themselves.
And they should be revived.
NRM will reform itself. It will split. May I can predict it. By 2026, NRM will split into two. NRM A and NRB. Independent movement, which will have two movements. If people like me and this woman of Mukono are coming up to express their anger. Yes. When you vomit, you vomit. When you fight, you fight. When you abuse them, abuse them. So that you know that I'm badly treated.
Are you talking about Nantaba?
Nantaba.
I want to end as we move this interview with this question.
But again, there is a problem in this government. A group of people is humiliating others, putting people in the prison, doing what? Why has government retained the Zirinya? But do you know that a police officer who interrogated the Zirinya and took a statement from Zirinya was sacked in Masaka? Was he sacked by Bijambia people?
No.
They had to get a man from Chisolo. A police officer from Chisolo came purposely to sack this man. And his record, when you look at this man, was transferred to Chisolo to come and sack the police officer who took a statement from Zirinya. His record stinks in releasing criminals from. He even goes to court and releases criminals.
Are you serious?
This is the money they brought in the massacre.
Why would they?
Who made these changes?
Why would they fire?
Who has the powers to make policy changes? Who has the powers to make these changes? Who brought this man? Who is notorious, who has the habit of protecting hardcore criminals.
Of course, we hear their orders from above. We hear above. We don't know who is above.
So it tells you that Uganda at war. Uganda is these mafias are fighting themselves.
Mzee, I want to end with this question.
One of them will eliminate the other.
Why do you think that whenever Muhoozi does something, it is not highlighted?
Yes, when Muhoozi does something, it's not highlighted. Why? Because everybody must be paid. They know that at one time, Muhoozi can use his achievement to claim for the president. Abaganda babuuza ababikulya balungi mirimu. Will he good at protecting you? Even if it comes, you use it.
Of course.
Kakati oyo akokamwendo nga muganda wako kamogera. Jeno mukambwe. Kwagala kwate police kabe. Ubi wako kagenda kakubambuke dino kakubagwa. Uyo jeno mukambwe ali anumba. Ali aje. But the problem is yes, my son is riding on what I made in the media.
Of course.
Yes, your son will do the same.
Of course,
we ride on our achievements.
Many of us have been riding on your success.
I have refused to be suffocated by Rwabogo. I will never be suffocated by Rwabogo. Even if I go naked, even if my children lack anything, Ziyoggerako naye ne Katonda ne bwagamba Ziyoggerako na Rwabogo.
Owakanya Katonda.
Ne Katonda ne bwandagira soogera na Rwabogo. He will be dealt with.
I see.
Walibeera wabamukwata ne bamusiba ffe tumusabira kuwangaala abeereko mu gavumenti etali ya ssezaalawo nga mujimbi bali mujimba. Ate Abaganda bakugamba nti obukyala si bumbejja obumbejja princess will be omumbejja Firawo. Marrying the president's daughter, somebody will marry another president's daughter.
Of course.
Yes. Will Museveni be president for life?
No.
Walibeerawo gavumenti ezimukwata nemumalamu obujozi obwo bwajoga abantu. Myaka gyange 8 gyanjozi nga buli kasente konna akanga akakwata buli bizinesi yange n'agita irupe ajja kusasula.
Betutyo wetumalize
bamubbe naye bamutte ate sirikire busirimu wangu. I have a lot of support everywhere in the military, everywhere mu police wa have strong ally. Abantu bagamba mutukubireko setegeere nti naye akubwako nti ejjogoli wali kwatako n'amukuba n'atambula teyo omuntu ategeere how hated he is. Lwalitegeera nti omulenzi oyo ensi yamukyawa nnyo abantu bamukyawa genda nga abajooga.
Mazima wetutyo bwe tutambudde mu kitundu kyaffe kino twebaza nnyo okuba nga mutugoberera. Mweraba.